Alright, if you're still with me, and this is like the third, fourth video you've watched, great. This is the practice test 2A. This is, I don't even know what page this is. Third, fourth page, something like that. Fifth page, maybe. I can't remember. Anyways, this is 14 through 17. Okay, so 4 questions. And we'll just get started. Find f of -5 given the graph below. So that's the information that I need. Okay, and we know if it's in parentheses, it is x. Okay, and if I have x, I want to stay on the x-axis. I'm not going to have x and go to the y-axis. That would be backwards. Please don't do that. So if it gives me x, I want to be on the x-axis, so I go to -5 on the x-axis. So if I start in the middle, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there's -5. And my goal, the whole point of this, is I want to find out where my graph crosses when at -5, right? When x is -5. So if I draw my line like this, notice it crosses right here, which is -2. -2. That's all I'm looking for. And notice, I think this is the first question we've had on this test that is not multiple choice. So on the actual test, number 14 will be a graph and is not multiple choice. So you have no help. Okay. Now let's pretend that, well, never mind. Let's just not pretend anything. This is the question. Just different numbers, different graph. But I do the same thing. So it gives me x. I go left to right. So if it's negative, I go left. If it's positive, I go right. And then I just find out where my graph crosses wherever my number is that it gives me. Okay? So in this case, it's -2. And I'm done with that number. So 15. Evaluate the function when x equals 6. And then it gives me some equation. Okay. And now it's all blurry. My goodness. There we go. So again, I want to take this number and I'm going to replace every x with that number and then solve, get some answer. Okay. So because I have some room, I'm going to do this right below. So b of, instead of x, I change it to 6. -5x, or -5 parentheses 6, and then -11. Okay. Now again, you can just type from here. I can type this in, get my answer, and I can move on. Or if you want to do it by hand, you can. That's -30 minus 11 is -41. And again, there's no multiple choice, which means on 15 on the test is not multiple choice, which means you get no help. So I get some number. Okay, so my answer is -41. And I'm done. That's it. Moving on. 16, look, same exact thing. Okay? I'm just getting some number. So evaluate the function for x equals 12. Here's my function right here. So I'm going to do the same thing that I just did. I take my number 12. I replace every single x with that number and then solve for some answer. Okay, so it's q. Instead of x, I put 12. 5/6. Parentheses, because it's x, I'm going to change x to 12 minus 23. Okay? Now again, you can type this in the calculator, and if you have one or are able to, I would practice, because if you type this in wrong, you will get the wrong answer. And notice there are no multiple choice options for this question. So you have no help. You can't tell if you type it in wrong or if you make a mistake. Although I will tell you that so far, like since this one was -41 and this one was -2, I'm not saying the answers are going to be negative on the test, but they are not decimals. Okay, so that should be kind of an indication right there. If I get a decimal on these, something's wrong. So you might want to go back and redo it. But like on this one, if I multiply 5 over 6 times 12, that would be 10 minus 23. Okay, if I do 10 minus 23, you should get negative 13. Notice, not a decimal. Okay, so negative 13 is my answer. And I'm done with 16. Okay, so be careful, pay attention, go slow if you have to, but you should not get decimals on these. All right, 17. Let f of x equal 8 times x minus 3 plus 1. Evaluate f of 5. Okay, there's the things that I need. My function and my x, so the number it wants me to use. So we did this on a question earlier. I can't remember what number, a different page. But I mean, I'm doing the same thing as 15 and 16 right here. I'm going to take my number right here, and I replace every x with that number. And then I solve for some answer. Okay? That's all I'm doing. Same thing. Over and over and over and over and over again. It's like repetition. Which I know might seem boring, but if it's repetition, you know how to do it once. You can do it 4 or 5 times on the same test, which means you should get all those questions correct. Unless you make some dumb mistake because you're going too fast, you're not paying attention, you type something in wrong, you write something wrong, you forget a negative, whatever the case is. There are a ton of small things that you could do and not even notice. So please be careful. Okay, so I'm going to replace. I have f of, instead of x, I replace it with 5. Okay. Equals 8. Parentheses. X is now 5 minus 2 plus 1. And I can type this in the calculator and get an answer as long as I type exactly what I see and don't change it. Okay? So, if you want to, and you can totally do this, you can work it out by hand and get an answer. I would still go ahead and type it in to make sure you got the right answer. Because I've seen some of y'all make simple mistakes when you add, subtract, multiply, stuff like that. But then because it's a mistake that you didn't notice, your answer's wrong when you could have gotten it right by just typing it in to double check. Okay? So like I do parentheses first, so this is 3. Because I saw some of y'all like do 8 times 5 and then minus 2, and you can't do that. So make sure you do order of operations correctly. But again, just type it in. Just type it in. Check your answer. Make sure it's right. So look, I'm going to work it out. So 5 minus 2 is 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Plus 1 is 25. Okay? So look, I'm going to check my answer just in case. Because yeah, I can make a mistake. It happens. Because the smallest mistakes are the ones you probably will not notice until someone points them out. So I'm going to type 8 parentheses 5 minus 2 parentheses plus 1. Enter. And look, I got the exact same number. So here's another little trick. If I do it by hand and I do it in the calculator and it's the same exact number, there's a lot better chance that I did it right. Okay? If you do it by hand and you do it in the calculator and you get 2 different answers, you have done something wrong in one of the 2 places, or in both, you don't know. But that's when you have to go back and check. Okay, so if you do it twice, you get the same answer, doing it by hand and typing it in, that's probably the right answer. And something else to note real quick before I end, not a decimal. None of these are decimals. Okay, so there's no multiple choice on this page, but there are also no decimals on these answers. So that is also true for the test. Hint, hint.